Hey guys, Gwydscomix here, and I want to start this video with a question. When you think of an innocent TV show about colourful horses, do you two think of a story of rape, alcoholism, parents beating their own children, and graphic lesbian sex? You guys are in for one hell of an episode. Alright, let's begin. So the first thing I discovered when I finally decided to embark on my mission to check out this story was that on FimFiction, the place I go for a lot of my creepypasta needs, one of the main tags used to explain this particular story was none other than the word sex. Finally I get to read a creepypasta where the ponies have sex. Yes! I'm so excited. Are you excited? Yeah, you're excited. Now, to this point where I would usually give you a rundown of the history of the story, but I don't care enough to do that, so... The story begins at the end, with Octavia, the main protagonist of the story, moping around in her room. Wow, what a great start to your epic cadence! Don't get me wrong, the technique of starting one's story at the end is an ancient and effective form of storytelling designed to keep audiences interested and invested in what events could have led up to this moment. Unfortunately, this is an MLP Creepypasta, so I already felt like leaving. Anyway, her parents are dead and Vinyl Scratch's glasses sit on her nightstand, or as I like to call Vinyl in this particular story, pony she has sex with. Have I told you yet how excited I am for that scene? Anyway, cue predictable flashback and you find out her two unicorn parents gave birth to her, a filthy mud pony as they like to call their beloved daughter. You know, because she's an earth pony.
I'm not racist.
Ha! Parents are so quirky like that. What's great about this is even though the story makes it clear that her parents hate normie ponies, clearly her mother couldn't resist a quick smash. Man, I wonder who her real father is. Anyway, we then get a dragged out section of the story where it explains how much her parents hate her, but wanted to be a famous composer as to live up to their legacy of, well, both being famous composers. So after an unnecessarily long description of how her mother beats her on the daily and her father makes servants beat her on the daily too, we get to the part of the story where she gets a cello and some kind of curse put on her. Or at least that's what I understand. Now this curse gets her a cutie mark in music like her parents wanted, but also makes her hear music in her head at all times. She then writes down said music for her parents, who, you know, still beat her. Now to this point in the story where I've got to give props to the parents. I mean, this is good parenting. Why not continue to beat your child even after they do exactly what you want them to do? Kids love that. So fast forward a few years and she's 18 now, you know, the age of consent. Have I told you there's a sex scene in this story yet? I'm so excited for that. Oh, and it's also the appropriate age, or at least in this story, to join the orchestra. Anyway, this sex scene, I'm so excited for that. Now, it's also at this point in the story where it explains the mother's favourite torture technique, which is choking her child with her iconic red bow. Yes, the red bow, her famous red bow that she wears in the show at all times. Wait a minute. What are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? How hard is it to Google your main character in order to have your facts straight before you write the story? Whatever, just fucking whatever. Let's continue. So after her mother stops choking her, which I honestly think is the writer's fetish with how often it happens in this story, Octavia's weak and can't stand up. Enter mysterious hooks that no one else can see. Yes, horror cliche number 3. Anyway, they hook onto her flesh and help Octavia to perform her piece, then disappear. So thanks to senpai hooks, Octavia gets into the orchestra and is happy that she'll be able to escape her parents for a few hours every day. The following week. But because practice doesn't start until the following week. I think you get it. So a week flies by and she goes to orchestra practice exactly how her parents planned. However, afterwards, she is approached by another protagonist, and the first friend she makes in this particular story, which is none other than Lyra. That's right, Lyra of Lyra and Bonbon. Remember those two background ponies that the whole fandom wanted to be gay?
There is nothing like a best friend, is there?
Are you saying our whole friendship was based on a lie?
You're my very best friend. That's what best friends are for.
How's that working out for you? Still in denial? Okay. Anyway, Lyra takes her out to a seedy nightclub called the Blue Moon. Doesn't sound like that place is open very often. So they meet up with Bonbon there, and Lyra proceeds to get Octavia drunk against her will. Wow, what a good friend. Then again, it wouldn't have been hard seeing as Octavia gets drunk after one shot of vodka. Octavia in her drunk state then starts to check out the DJ, who is none other than Pony she has sex with. I mean Vinyl. Sorry, I'm just really excited for that scene. Anyway, Vinyl finishes her show, comes over and hangs out with them. Octavia then throws up on Lyra, everyone laughs at her misery like good friends, and Vinyl is asked to take Octavia home. In a non-sexual way, disappointingly. And so she does. The next day, Octavia wakes up, and we meet the first of many pointless characters, which is good old Chef, who is apparently the only nice person in this house and helped her get back the night before. He then gives her a bowl of soup for the hangover and leaves. Enter her mother, who comes in and pours the entire bowl of hot soup in her mouth, then forces her to swallow it by holding her mouth and pinching her nose so she can't breathe until she does. Of course, Octavia's body resists this, so it begins coughing and gagging, and in order to stop Octavia from throwing up, her mother pulls the red bow tie around her neck as tight as it will go, then leaves her like that by accident.
Heavens to Celestia! What's wrong with her?
I don't know, but you just made it worse.
Being a mother is a tough job, especially when children are born with wings and magic sometimes. Happy Mother's Day from WatchPony.com. And we're counting down our picks for the top 10 mothers in My Little Pony.
Then, just as Octavia's about to die, the hooks appear and save her, I guess, by taking off the tie. Now you might be wondering, how are you able to talk about that in such a monotone voice? And my answer for you, it seems like this happens so often throughout this story that, well, that they just get boring after a while. Anyway, the following day goes pretty much exactly the same, with Octavia sneaking out after practice, but instead of going to a nightclub this time, they go to a bar. And while Vinyl and Lyra are having a drinking contest, her and Bonbon go to a different table and get hit on by some dudes who want to fuck them. Bonbon then shows Octavia how to manipulate creeps like this into getting them the drink with a lot of flirting and sweet talk, which I definitely suggest to all young women. If a man is acting rapey, by all means, trick him into thinking you'll have sex with him, and then don't. Rapists love that. Anyway, Octavia gets drunk after one drink again, and after Vinyl's made a semi-lewd remark suggesting that Lyra and Bonbon have experimented with lesbianism, she goes to take Octavia home. But after Octavia makes a drunk remark about her parents abusing her, she decides to take her back to her place instead. But you know, they don't have sex again, which was disappointing. Octavia doesn't remember any of this though, so when she wakes up the next morning next to Vinyl, she freaks out because... no homo, I guess? Writes an orchestra and runs home, where she gets tortured by her mum again. Which is so exciting. Now, despite this, she sneaks out after orchestra practice again the following evening because she's fucking dumb. But this time they just go to Lyra's apartment and, you know, drink even more.
17 signs of a high-functioning alcoholic.
While Vinyl explains to Octavia that they didn't have sex after all. Then, senpai hooks appear out of nowhere, and Octavia runs home in fear, where she gets tortured again. Alright, the night has finally arrived. Now is when they finally have sex. But first, plot happens. So I'm going to speed round it. Octavia and Vinyl go to a bar. Vinyl brings up possible family abuse. Octavia acts like a little bitch on being confronted and runs away. She then almost gets raped by the dudes from before, and Vinyl saves her. They go back to Vinyl's apartment. Octavia opens up. Vinyl listens and tells her they'll run away to Ponyville together. Oh, that's right. This is an MLP Creepypasta. I totally forgot about that. Oh, then finally, they have sex. And it's uncomfortable to read, so I'll do it for you. Yo, what up? It's your boy, Gwydscomix. Alright, let's look at this. I don't know why I'm doing this. Why am I doing this? Why? Alright, so today I'll be reading Act 2 of A Puppet to Her Fame. Concerto, where she oh, my dreams are about to come true, man. Okay, where is it? Where does it begin? Here we go. Alright, let's begin. My heart raced as I leaned in. I'd never kissed a pony I'd never kissed a pony before. My mind worked quickly to figure out how it was supposed to work. Before my brain could catch up to my heart, I had sealed my lips with Vinyl's. She pushed me away. Octi, you don't know what you're... Please, Vinyl, let me do this, I pleaded, trying to pull back in. I clenched my eyes to keep the tears from surfacing. I didn't want her to see how desperate and broken I was. I don't care if I mess up. I just want to be happy. Oh, this fucking hurts. Alright, carrying on. I never saw it coming. But that's when the orchestra resumed its crescendo. I felt a hoof... I know how to read. I felt a hoof wipe a few tears from my eye. As soon as I opened them, Vinyl had taken me and pressed her lips against mine. Closing my eyes, I let our burning passion push us closer. We wrestled and maneuvered ourselves until she had me pinned to the couch, never letting ourselves separate for even a second. She pressed my hooves down on either side of me as I lay there exposed to her. My heart was pounding in my chest. I was so open and vulnerable that I began to whimper and tremble beneath her. She picked up on my nervousness and pressed her body against mine. I thought that she was experienced and that she'd be cool and collected, yet I felt her heart just as fast as mine. I gasped into her mouth as she placed... I gasped into her mouth as she placed her hoof somewhere I had never been touched before. The bombastic musical piece in my head silenced, and I heard a single, slow, mournful violin. I cried at it. The movement fit the contour so perfectly that I just wept and cried straight into her. She didn't stop as the heat of her touch began to rise. So did the music. I could imagine just how silly I probably looked at the moment, but I didn't care. I was happy. Oh God. Octavia, I want you to... She whispered passionately, suddenly dampening the music. I don't know if I can, I stammered. Vinyl never planned to wait though. Sorry. Vinyl never planned to wait though. She took my hoof and moved it to herself. At first I was scared to hurt her. She was so soft and delicate, and when her expression said otherwise, she let go of my hoof and I continued. It keeps going. The music picked back up as we embraced. Everything rose higher and higher. Our heart rate, the temperature, the tempo of the music. This was our song, and we played it for hours. Still, the finale came too soon. It was a final movement, a final push to resolve the piece that crashed inside my head. We wanted it to conclude. The symphony raged and built, working its way to the last resolution and movement. We worked so hard to compose the last piece, and just as I thought we would hear it, there was a silence. A beautiful silence. Euphoria surged through us. White hotness filled my mind as pure ecstasy. I saw Vinyl's mouth move. I had to read her lips because I couldn't hear her. I love you. I love you too. I found myself falling asleep as the silence offered me a final reprieve since my cutie mark had appeared. There were so many things I wanted to say as she held me, yet all I managed was... There's so many things I wanted to say as she held me, yet all I managed to say was... Thank you. Oh, that was beautiful. That was so beautiful. You know, that was really everything I wanted it to be. What the fuck? What the fuck? So the next day, guards come for Octavia and take her away from Vinyl. And then guess what happens to dear little Octavia? That's right, torture. Though this time, the hooks help her bash up her mum a bit. Unfortunately, her dad comes in during this and knocks her out. That's a shame. Oh, I forgot to mention that her mother puts a shock collar on her disguised as that totally iconic red bow tie that she wears all the time. And that's why, with the help of the hooks, she bashed up her mum in the first place. You know, because she didn't like the shock collar. Anyway, she wakes up the next day, or was it 2 days later? Look, I don't care. She goes to orchestra practice with a shock collar on, her friends find out and promise to come and save her, but you know. Don't. In fact, Bonbon and Lara just completely disappear at this point. I'm serious, you never hear from them again. Not once. They just vanish. Much like the cook and the butler do. Though the butler doesn't disappear just yet because he tells the parents that Octavia was talking with her friends. And so upon arriving at home, her mother decides to torture her non-stop all weekend, and her dad's into it. Anyway, she gets angry and the hooks turn into meat hooks that hang from chains and completely tear her parents to pieces, which Octavia is completely behind until she realises that, you know, it's going to kill them. And it does, much to her dismay. Are you kidding me? Are you actually Look, whatever. She then passes out and Vinyl comes and takes her unconscious body back to her apartment. But wait, it's not over. How fucking long is this story? It's okay, I'm okay. So Vinyl gives her sleeping pills to, well, sleep, but the hooks wake her up in the night and force her to write an orchestra because, although this doesn't remotely affect the events to follow, it's a nice bit of padding.
Get up, be active, 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 get up, don't lie down, get up, don't lie down, get up, don't lie down.
Anyway, the next day the hooks threaten Vinyl's life by dangling around her, and Octavia freaks out and runs to the practice hall where she lets the hooks have their way with her and force her to perform. Then Vinyl comes in and begs her to talk to her, but although as far as I know her lips aren't indisposed, she doesn't reply, and when she does, she doesn't explain the situation like at all. Even though Vinyl's, you know, begging her to. Whatever, just fucking whatever. So after a scene where Vinyl plays the drum while Octavia plays her orchestra, Vinyl leaves, brokenhearted, and the story goes back to the beginning. You know, where the hooks have left Octavia alone for some reason, and she's moping around in her room, alone, surrounded by the corpses of her parents. Now, the first time I read this, which took me 3 fucking hours, I remember thinking, aha, so this is when Vinyl will show up at her door and they'll run away to Ponyville together, making this whole story canon and make perfect sense. Well, no, that doesn't happen. They both age and never see each other again. Although, Vinyl does go to her shows and watch from the crowds because this story is a tragedy.
When you
Alright, let's wrap this up. This is by far my least favourite of the stories I've read to date, which is honestly upsetting because the concept was actually really interesting. A story about someone being forced to play music by some greater power is one of the most intriguing premises I've heard to date, especially when it comes to horror. But, unfortunately, the writer decided to focus less on the puppeteer and more on the torture and cruelty of her parents. A concept that grew stale and repetitive really quickly. I think there were 5 torture scenes throughout the course of this story, and the only one to remotely affect me was, I believe, the first one. And even then it felt like pointless shock value to me. I hate this story. I actually hate it. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, links in the description, blah blah blah. Go check them all out. They're all great. Blah 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 blah. Now, update. I am going to be going to BronyCon this year because it's the last one and I just feel like I should. Otherwise, I may have missed out. I don't know, man. I'm going to BronyCon. I'm going to vlog it. It's going to be cool. It's going to be great. I'm going to do daily vlogs for the 4-day event. And it's definitely not going to be ironic. It's going to be great. You guys should all come and check out my vlog series that I'm going to make. I might make it. It totally depends if, you know, I'm not too awkward to pull out a camera around a bunch of strangers and film myself. I hope you liked that read-through that I did. That was different, wasn't it? That was exciting. Yeah. I thought it'd be funny if you saw my genuine reaction to reading porn. I mean, a story about love. A tragedy about love. Look, I'm gonna finish this. Okay, see you next time. Sayonara. So sorry this video took so long, but you know, it's 21 minutes, so I think I deserved that time. Sayonara again.